Hello and welcome to the Real News Radio. This is your weekly broadcast where we discuss current events, politics, and the failure of our government to represent we the people, the lies and the deceit and the propaganda of the mainstream corporate-owned puppet media. Again, we are continuing our series on Constitution, A Search for the Truth. Has it been effectively suspended? This is our last day on the series. We've been promoting that today we would be joined by Pastor Gary Frye and Rodney Miller, and we are going to continue our series now with them, so I'm going to turn it to them.
All right, thank you, Farron. We were discussing, of course, if you were able to listen to the last hour, different facets of how we got into the mess that we're in today in America. And we brought up also that it was a spiritual warfare, and that if you tried to defeat these people who are taking our country from us by political means, it will not work. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, it's all the same animal. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Watch the programs that they push, watch the programs that they put their signatures on. That's what they are really all about. And so a man can look you straight in the face and lie to you. They're trained to do this. Do not ever listen to what they're saying. Watch what they do. One of the things that lets us know that we're in deep trouble and that the Constitution is really no longer in effect is the executive orders that is being passed by our presidents. This has been going on. I mean, Abraham Lincoln used an executive order, but it was for a very short period of time, and it was for the good of the country. Now, what we're seeing today is one executive order after another. An executive order is something that bypasses the Constitution altogether. It is entered into the Federal Register. If it is not really fought against, or the people do not rise up against it, and our representatives don't rise up against it, then after a certain period of time, it basically becomes law. It can be rescinded by another president, and sometimes they are, but then they turn right around and either reinstate it or reverbalize it or remake it and put that same animal back in there. They operate off of emergencies. Every time there is a great event, such as Oklahoma City or 9/11 or anything like this, they operate fully off of those things. In many cases, they have had knowledge of these things prior to it happening, or have in a way been part of it, and this has been proven. If you just watch the news that is out there, that is telling the truth, you'll find out that there was prior knowledge of some of these things. But they used them in order to enact new executive orders and take more and more giant steps into our personal freedom and the freedom of this nation. Now, you want to know why we don't hear about it. Why didn't the news talk about it? Well, this is a statement that was made by David Rockefeller, and this was an address to the Trilateral Commission in June of 1991. He said, "We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time magazines, and other great publications, all your major publications, and television stations and radio stations, who have attended our meetings and respected the promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during these years." In other words, we had to do it in darkness. And what does the Bible say? They love darkness because their deeds are evil. And these people's deeds are evil. And it goes on to say the supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodeterminism practiced in past centuries. In other words, we don't want the national sovereignty anymore. We want this supranational sovereignty of a one world government headed by the person that we select to run the world, because we are the intellectual elites, we are the bankers, we know what's best for everybody else. You are dumb, you are sheeple, you don't know what's best for you, and we're going to take control of the helm. And that's exactly where we are headed today. Rodney, I want you to...
They're making our decisions.
Exactly.
We don't have a vote. Think about it, people. When did you ever vote for a one world government? Where did you ever think about that? I have a letter here from the Department of the Treasury from Russell Monk to Dr. Walker Todd, attorney at law in Ohio. This was in regards to the Equalization Stabilization Fund and help to the farmers in America. But there's one particular place on there I want you to listen to. On page 2 of the notice is correctly noted that Congress was given a broad discretion to the Secretary of the Treasury concerning the ESF. That's the Equalization Stabilization Fund. And the Secretary exercises exclusive control over the ESF and subject to the approval by the President. And the decisions of the Secretary are final and may not be reviewed by any other officer or employee of the U.S. government. That's 31 U.S.C. Act 502, Act 2. Folks, the last stimulus package that was passed, they used that same term on that no one could audit it, nobody could really see where the money went. Hey, are you getting mad? You better get mad. You better have outrage, because we're being led across a cliff. And it's your decisions to be made, not theirs. You know, throughout history, these type things have happened. And I'm going to go back into history for a moment. In 1820, our forefathers knew that this could happen to us. And they passed a 13th Amendment. And let me read it to you. If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall without consent of Congress accept or retain any present pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever, from an emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States, and shall be incapable of holding an office or trust or profit under them, or either of them. Isn't it amazing that during the Civil War, the 13th Amendment got tore out, and no one in Washington wants to admit it? And I have in front of me a copy of the military laws of the United States and the Constitution of the United States in 1825. And that same wording that I just read to you is there. But the 13th Amendment was replaced with the Emancipation Proclamation. And I do not blame any race, creed, or color for doing this. It is for people that were going to benefit from what they were doing so they could be in public office. Stop. Just think for a moment. If all the lawyers in Washington were gone, who would be left? Anybody out there? Has anybody thought of that? You know, it's time that we, the people, wake up. It's time that we start standing up. And it's time that we ask for reform. But number one, that our Constitution of this country, that our men and women are dying overseas right now, over 4,300 are dying for a democracy. Do we have it? I think not. People, we're putting our life on the line. But you know what? When you know the truth will set you free. It's time that you too become free indeed and stand up. Wake up and do something about it.
Amen to that. You know, I agree 100%. It's going to have to be done. If it's going to be done, it's got to be done very, very quickly, because time is certainly running out. You see the news media pushing the line of those one-worlders, the ones who do want to create world government and do away with our sovereignty. Anytime now anybody opposes any of these socialistic changes that Obama wants to make, they cry racism. And I am totally against most of the things that Obama wants to do. But is it racism? Absolutely not. It's patriotism. It's Americanism. And as far as racism, man, I would have voted for Alan Keyes 100%. I mean, I have the deepest respect for that man. Amen. And but here, you know, he's certainly blacker than Obama, so it's not a race thing whatsoever. It's an American thing, standing up for our rights, and we should never shut our mouths. There's absolutely nothing wrong with standing up for what you believe.
Well, I agree with that. We are coming up